Hello, and welcome to Vets in Agriculture, a conversation with Commissioner Nikki Fried and the UCF Veterans History Project. I am Barbara Gannon, an Associate Professor of History at the University of Central Florida. I am the coordinator of the UCF Community Veterans History Project, an oral history project that captures the experience and stories of Central Florida veterans. We interview veterans of all wars, hot wars, cold wars, of all types of experiences in combat units and the units that support them, men and women, black and white. We're interested in all experiences. We have interviewed over 600 veterans. We archive these interviews in the UCF Special Collections, and also they are sent forward to the Library of Congress, the National Veterans History Project collection. Before we begin, I certainly want to thank everyone who made this conversation possible. Tiffany Rivera, the outreach coordinator for the Department of History. She is the most valuable staff member on our project. She made this webinar and everything else a success. I would also like to thank, of course, the commissioner who will meet, but also Ed Rodriguez, Veterans Affairs Director of the Department of Agriculture. He made this partnership possible. One way we succeed as an organization is through partnerships with organizations in order to identify and tell the story of veterans. Now, I believe this partnership is particularly valuable because a small percentage of Americans serve in the armed forces, and a small percentage of the population also grow our food. Both defending the nation and feeding it are critical. It is a wonderful opportunity to talk to men and women who do both. Now, you may be wondering about my background. This is one of the most famous paintings in American history of a veteran. It is 1865 Winslow Homer. It is a veteran coming home from the Civil War to his farm and throwing down his jacket and his haversack and immediately harvesting the wheat. This, I think, is iconic. Most of our veterans in the past were farmers. That's not true today. So I think we have to go the extra effort to tell their story, particularly as time passes in the future. Agriculture is central not only to Florida, but to the entire world. Now, that's why we're very proud of the interest of the Florida Department of Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried in our project and in veterans. So she's going to give some opening remarks. Then we're going to hear from veterans who participate in this project and another who wants to participate, and the students who interviewed them to see what they might glean from this. So let's hear from the Commissioner, Nikki Fried. She is the 12th Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services, a lifelong Floridian. Not a lot can say that. Attorney and activist. Born and raised in Miami, she received her bachelor's, master's, and JD degree at the University of Florida. There's a lot of University of Florida going on in this, you might see. She served as student body president, the first woman in nearly 2 decades. She was an attorney, and she was head of the felony division at the Alachua County Public Defender's Office. She formed a firm in Tallahassee to advocate for at-risk children. She served on so many boards, I had to cut them down. We didn't have an hour. Young Lawyers Board, the Board of Governors of the UF, the Legal Needs of Children Bar Committee, the Leroy Collins Institute, the Girl Scouts of Southeast Florida, Florida Children First, and many others. She is a member of the Blue Key, the oldest and most prestigious leadership organization honorary in the state of Florida. I would like to welcome Commissioner Fried.
Thank you, Dr. Gannon and the University of Central Florida's History Department, and of course, Savannah and Eric. It is an honor to partner with the UCF Community Veterans History Project to recognize agriculture contributions of our Florida's veterans. I made veterans a priority in our department from day one. We established a Veterans Affairs Director position with Navy veteran Ed Rodriguez, who I believe you will hear from later this morning, and to make sure that we understand and ensure that veterans have a voice in our department. And I'm proud to oversee Operation Outdoor Freedom in Florida Forest Services, which provides outdoor adventures to wounded veterans. Over 4,000 Florida veterans have been served, enriching lives and helping cope with injuries and past traumatic stress. To protect our veterans from fraud and abuse, I've directed our Consumer Services Division to categorize consumer complaints received from veterans and service members to emphasize our pursuit on those cases. The department has been active in encouraging veterans to pursue agriculture careers. Meaningful work can help veterans maintain a sense of purpose after serving. Also helps address problems of older farmers who are retiring at higher rate than younger farmers and can replace them. This is a win-win for everybody. To help our veterans, critical to feeding our nation, and we have also worked with now President Biden to make federal priority our veterans involved in agriculture. We found that while veterans have always been a proud part of Florida's agriculture community, few historical records that describe their lives and contributions have been found in our state. This is why our department was proud to establish this partnership with UCF in November of 2020. With May being Memorial Day month, theme of remembrance being central to Memorial Day, this is an ideal time to provide updates to our work with this initiative. So far, 5 veterans in agriculture have been interviewed, 2 more that are in the process of being interviewed as we speak. We've established a webpage to house those interviews, so Floridians will always be able to see them, see the incredible contributions our veterans have made in agriculture. And you can find all that information on our website, which is fdacs.gov. So that's FDACS.gov. This is just the beginning. We are going to encourage and continue to encourage veterans in agriculture to document their life's experiences, making Floridians aware of their contributions. And every single month, we also have a Veterans of the Month, where we are recognizing veterans across the state of Florida who have not only served our country and served our state, but are now serving in agricultural positions in some kind of capacity. So it's been such an honor to uplift these stories and to really truly show the connection and interdisciplinary between our veterans and our agriculture community. So I cannot thank you again for giving me this opportunity to come and speak with you all this morning, but more importantly, thank you for elevating this conversation and the recognition that veterans have played such a vital role in agriculture here in the state. Agriculture in the state of Florida is $137 billion economic impact, with over 2 million individuals across our entire state that have been involved in agriculture. And we are the #2 economic driver for our state, but during COVID, we were #1. So having this connection and this emphasis on veterans being involved is such an important part of my administration. So thank you again for giving me this opportunity to address you all this morning, and hope you enjoy hearing from the rest of the panelists this morning.
Thank you so much for those remarks. And I definitely have to say that that is exactly in my mind, the exact same thing. One of the things we emphasize here, just a brief comment, is the positive things veterans do. Sometimes people are very much into veterans as problems, and we do need to help them with their challenges. But I think it will help everyone if people realize that veterans come home and perform vital services to their community. And I think that's one of the things this will highlight. Well, thank you, Commissioner Fried, for those right on time, perfect remarks. Now, today I'd like to introduce our panel. We're going to hear from 2 veterans, farmers, Eric Autry, a U.S. veteran, and Savannah Turner, a U.S. Coast Guard veteran reservist. Now, Eric has already been interviewed by us. He was interviewed by Jackie Huss, who is one of our panelists. He is an Army veteran and veteran farmer from Tampa. He is also a former Veterans Florida intern. He runs his own farm called God's Garden Farm in Tampa. Now, what I found amazing about Eric was we were talking, and he is a farmer when he was young, but now he is learning all about from the Department of Agriculture, modern agricultural techniques, and he loves it. He is the man in the painting. He is happy to get back to the farming life. Now, Savannah Turner, she is our veteran who will be participating in this effort. Eric is an Army veteran, and she is a Coast Guard veteran. And very few people realize how important the Coast Guard is to national defense until they're needed. They'll rescue you in peace, and they serve in war. She's a PhD student at the University of Florida. She served on active duty for 5 years. In the Coast Guard, she was stationed at Coast Guard units in Connecticut, Louisiana, and Georgia. After her active duty service in 2016, she didn't have enough, so she joined the Coast Guard Reserve. She is currently stationed at the U.S. Coast Guard Marine Safety Detachment in Port Canaveral. In July 2020, she became a commissioned officer in the reserves. She has a total of 10 years of military service. She wants to retire as a member of the Coast Guard Reserve. Before becoming a PhD student, she was a 4-H youth, an extension agent specializing in 4-H youth development. In April 2021, Ms. Turner was selected as the FDACS Veteran of the Month, a program Commissioner Fried referred to. They will be joined by our students and the people who participated in this project. Jackie Huss is a senior at the University of Central Florida with a major in history and minor in anthropology. During her time, she's participated in many, many activities. However, she has to say that among her favorite is the Veterans History Project. She is currently beginning to write her thesis, which is, oddly enough, partly about the Civil War. She states that this is one of the highlights of her college career. Gabriel Mercado is a fourth-year student of history. He also worked at the Orlando Regional History Center, another partnership we have at UCF, and the Community Veterans History Project. He specializes in Puerto Rican history, and he's currently working on Puerto Rico and the draft during World War I. Brandon Kirk is a senior in the College of History at UCF. As part of his honors thesis, he is researching the imperial rivalry between France and Britain in the early 20th century. He has been worked as an interviewer in our project for a couple of semesters. So he's interviewed veterans on World War II, one of his special projects, the Cold War, and most recently, the Iraq War. He is scheduled to graduate in fall of 2021. So here is our all-star panel. I'd like to start with our veterans first, if they don't mind, and ask them a couple questions. Let's talk with Eric. He's already been interviewed. So Eric, why did you think it was important to tell your story and have it recorded?
Like I said, thank you for letting me be with y'all this morning. Well, it was important for me to tell my story because I'm a lifelong Floridian, born and raised over in Bartow, Florida. And the way I came up was very hard because my parents were not that, they have a lot of money. So we looked towards farming and citrus to pay our bills and to eat. And as I was growing up, we did with agriculture all the time. Agriculture was our main source of food and money. And then as I grew up into an adult, I joined the military. I took those same lessons and that hard work and the hard work ethic with me to the military. And it helped me out in my military career. Doing basic training, it was easy for me because I already came from a farm. And everything was going good for me until I got to Iraq. And when I got to Iraq and Afghanistan, I went through that after 9/11. Farming and growing food and maintaining myself actually helped my PTSD out. It helped me realize what was going on with me and how the war affected my mind frame. And I tried to find other avenues on how to do things. And farming and growing and agriculture always kind of brought me back to my original self when I was a kid here in Florida. And that's why I want to tell my story and tell people that if I can make it as a poor kid here in Florida, picking oranges all my life, to where I'm at now on my own farm, if I can make it, anybody can make it.
Well, it sounds like that's a wonderful story that could help other veterans who might be challenged, even people who'd never farmed before. Do you know any veterans who've never farmed before who that's helped?
Yes. Fortunately, my wife, she's from New Jersey. She's a 20-year Air Force veteran, retired. And a quick little story. I asked her one day, I said, where does dirt come from? She said, Home Depot. I said, no. I said, no way. And she was a perfect example of how I took somebody that's from New Jersey, straight from the city. And now she farms with me on my farm. She helps me plant plants. She helps me pick out fertilizer. She actually is taking over now. You know what I'm saying? And she's a veteran that didn't know nothing about farming, didn't particularly like it. And now that you see what I've taught her or shown her how farming is and how people eat from farming, from farmers, she understands now the whole cycle of where we get our food from, where dirt comes from now and everything. So,
Well, Eric, thank you so much for sharing your story and for your service. And I personally thought dirt came from Home Depot too. Let's talk to Savannah. Ms. Turner, thank you for being willing to tell your story. You had not done it yet. So what prompted you to come and tell us your story?
Actually, it was after I was selected for the Veteran of the Month initiative with FDAX. And I was a little nervous about that idea of putting myself out there and exposing myself to everyone because, interviews are very personal. But then I realized that there needs to be more stories of veterans who are involved in agriculture, and especially women veterans. We're a pretty small minority. And so being able to have my story put out there and say, look, I'm in the Coast Guard, which is one of the lesser known branches. And, not only that, but I'm a female veteran. And so being able to share my story with others to say, hey, agriculture is a great field to get into. There's a lot of diversity and job opportunities. You don't necessarily have to be a farmer. You can be an engineer, you can be a scientist, you could run your own business. So being able to share my story and my experience through my military service and then transitioning into agriculture, looking from a social science perspective, was really important to be able to do that.
So one of the things we always try to get here is, how did your military experience and your current reservist citizen sailor, I suppose, how does it affect what you do in agriculture? How you think about farming and agriculture?
Yeah, so before I joined active duty, my bachelor's is actually in agricultural education. And so it was polar opposite from going in the military, like not related to each other whatsoever. But then as I progressed throughout my military career and back into agriculture as an extension agent before I was a PhD student, I realized that they're actually really intertwined with the transferable skills that you get through the military and how you can take those skills and then apply them to help move your communities forward. So being able to look at it in, I developed leadership skills, logistics, team building, communication skills. So those kind of skills, and then my drive and passion for Florida agriculture has really been able to help me, push myself further to say, what more can I do? How else can I serve my community? Which I find that most veterans I speak to, at UF, I'm the president of the Collegiate Veterans Society. And so talking with them, we're constantly looking for ways to serve our community. I think that's just something we're ingrained with. So being able to have an outlet in agriculture and tie my two passions together has really been a blessing to be able to do that.
Awesome. I think that's wonderful. I wish I'd known about this farming thing before. I was a Chicago kid. So for our students, I think I'm going to ask you sort of the same question I'll ask in turn. Maybe I'll start with Brandon, and this will be pretty much. So what did you get from this experience? Why did you think it was, what did you learn from it?
So originally, I thought I wasn't really seeing the connection between agriculture and Veterans Affairs. So I was very green going into this partnership, and I ended up interviewing David Riera, and he really kind of opened up my perspective to how veterans can really handle their PTSD being in agriculture. Like he's now has his doctorate at Miami University, and yet he's like says out in the field is like peace to him. Like that's the bliss that he had before he went out. And interviewing him, I could see that it's like it happened yesterday, talking about how he got his Purple Heart in Iraq, how he how they're afraid of arsenic in the water or mines, or he's in the logistical corps and he still was getting shot at all the time. And then he goes back to being outdoors, is like that's kind of what's sacred for veterans in a sense, is what he described it as. And I thought that was very unique, and especially him having such an elevated academic background, he still prefers being out and on the field, and he has all these great initiatives that really complement our goals and that whole sphere of progress.
That's wonderful. Gabrielle, what do you think? What have you gotten from this?
Well, this has definitely been a great experience for me. I come from a whole family background of military veterans, and to be able to talk to other veterans and hear about experiences was definitely a great one. Especially I had one veteran, Mr. Justin Grooms. He was a farmer. He currently owns a farm here in Florida. And he talked about how he had a similar experience with transitioning from the military from his farm, and how his farm life and his military life kind of interwove, because he was able to use his experiences in the military to try to innovate new things in the agricultural industry. And these are the kind of things that veterans are able to utilize when it comes to transitioning into the civilian work, work industry. And that's why they're so important. They're able to use their great experience, their unique experiences as well, being overseas and probably seeing things that nobody else is able to see and are exposed to. So it's definitely a great experience for me, and I would definitely encourage any student to be able to do this program and other programs like this, because it's definitely once in a lifetime.
Jackie.
This, just like everyone, this has been just an amazing experience. I actually got to interview Mr. Autry. It was my first interview, and he could definitely tell I was very nervous, but I was very excited. And just this entire internship has given me the opportunity to allow veterans to talk about their experiences, and have them for their families, and have them for the future, and having people look back and learn from their experiences, and learn about their service, and learn what they have done with their lives after their service. And I was just so grateful and thankful that I was given this opportunity to allow them to have the spotlight for this. When I learned that we were going to partner with the Department of Agriculture, it made sense to me. Actually, I have a friend that lives right across the street. She loves plants. I'm always over there. There's so many plants over there. And the way that she talks about them, and the way that she talks about gardening and everything, I could tell that it's a very therapeutic experience for her. And it made sense to me that it would be something that people use to have a way to express themselves and have it as a therapeutic way. So I thought this was just amazing, and I'm so happy that I got to do it. So yeah.
Well, thank you to all our students and all of our veterans here. still serving and those who serve feeding us, which I think is so important. It's just me. So one, thank you for all being here, and to Commissioner Fried and her staff. I think that one of the things we want to do is give people who may watch this later an opportunity to contact either the UCF History Department and the UCF Community Veterans History Project, or the Department of Agriculture and their veterans services, because I think more people should get involved in this. And so if you want to contact us, very simply, you can always do it through our history department or Riches, or there's our specific URL, and also the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. I'd like to thank everyone listening, the veterans. I'd like to thank our students, and of course, very importantly, the people who made this possible, who came to us, the Florida Department of Agriculture, the commissioner and her staff. And this is Memorial Day, which everyone said is about the dead of the war. But one thing you have to understand is veterans, it's also their month because they were the people who shared their lives with them. So when you commemorate the dead, also think of the living. And we're always honored to have special activities like this one that highlights veterans' service to their community. As Savannah said, they still continue to serve even outside of uniform. Thank you so much for coming and for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Gann, for having us. We look forward to continuing to work with you.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll learn something more about farming.
I'm learning something every day on my end.